Think about elite athletes, top musicians, disciplined monks. What if I told you they all share a secret, a kind of mental framework, a mindset so powerful it stops your brain from holding you back, letting you smash through what you thought were your limits? So if you're tired of being average, stick around. Let's dive into what makes this mindset so scary effective.
So what's the big secret? And look, it's not just about raw talent or grinding it out. It's more like a mental operating system, a way of thinking that the absolute top 1% use, while the rest of us, the other 99%, totally miss it.
And I want to be clear, this isn't just some motivational fluff. We're talking about something real, something with a neurological basis. Yeah, a framework that literally changes the physical wiring of your brain to make you tougher, more focused, and way more resilient.
And you know what the best part is? This isn't magic. It's a system, a set of rules that you can actually learn and install in your own mind, starting right now. So, let's break them down.
Okay, so the very first and honestly the most important battle, it's the one happening right between your ears. Rule number 1 is all about shutting down that negotiation with the voice in your head. You know the one that's always begging you to take it easy and feeding you excuses.
And what's so wild about this is that willpower, it's not just some abstract idea. It's a real physical part of your brain, called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. Let's just call it the AMCC. Scientists can literally see it and measure how big it is. You look at an endurance athlete, their AMCC is huge. People who always take the easy route, theirs is much smaller. The key thing to get here is that you can grow it, just like a muscle. But, and this is a big but, only by choosing to do hard things.
And David Goggins just nails it with this quote. See, your brain's main job is to keep you safe and save energy. So its default setting, it's weak. It's always going to tell you it's too cold to run, you can start tomorrow, all that stuff. The mindset here is simple, and it's kind of brutal. When you hear that voice, treat it as your signal to do the exact opposite.
Okay, so here's your first practical tool. We'll call it the Roger That protocol. Step 1, that weak voice pops up and says, nah, don't do this, it's gonna suck. You just acknowledge it. You say, Roger that, message received. Step 2, and this is the weird trick that works, you smile. Just that little physical act short-circuits the whole negative emotional pattern. And then step 3, you just go do the damn thing anyway. And get this, there's an immediate payoff for doing this. When you push through that initial resistance, it's not just building long-term willpower. Right in that moment, you get a shot of adrenaline that can jack up your focus by up to 120%. You literally get better the second you tell that weak voice to shut up.
All right, so you're winning that internal battle. You're beefing up that AMCC in your brain. But now what? How do you take that inner strength and actually apply it to getting good at something? Well, that brings us to rule number 2. The secret of awkward practice. Yeah, this is where you actually learn to love the struggle. So check this out. Psychologists did this incredible 20-year study on violin students. They wanted to figure out what really separates the good from the legends. And what they found? It completely demolishes the whole idea that it's all about natural talent.
I mean, just look at this chart. Everybody was practicing, right? But the secret sauce was in the kind of practice they were doing. The elite players, they clocked a whopping 7,000 hours in what you'd call frustrating solitary practice. The kind of practice where you're clumsy, you're making a ton of mistakes. The others, they spent way more of their time in comfortable practice, playing stuff they were already good at.
So here's the takeaway, right? That zone of pure awkwardness, the place where it's frustrating and your ego's getting bruised because you keep messing up, that is where mastery is built. Most people can't handle it. Their ego just says nope, and they go back to doing what feels easy. But the elite, they lean right into that discomfort because they know that's where all the growth is.
Okay, so you're silencing that weak voice, you're embracing the awkward, messy part of practice. So, what's next? How do you point all that mental energy in the right direction to get the most out of it? This is all about switching from just going through the motions to being an active, conscious control.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. The average person has this vague intention, right? I should probably go to the gym today. But the elite mind, it's laser-focused, it's specific. For the next 25 minutes, my entire focus is on my muscle contraction, nothing else. You can see how one of those leads to maybe some half-hearted effort, if you go at all, and the other leads to real, intense results.
We can learn so much from true masters of the mind, like Shaolin monks. Their training boils down to 3 key principles. First, what they call a clean mental diet, basically being super picky about the junk you let into your brain. Second, they use their breath as an anchor to keep them centered, especially when they're dealing with pain or stress.
And third, and this one is huge, they learn to just observe their emotions. They see them as waves of energy that just pass by, not commands that they have to obey.
So at the end of the day, it really just comes down to a choice. An untrained mind, it's a liability. It's just a machine that cranks out excuses. But a trained mind, that's a weapon for focus. And you, and only you, get to decide which one you're building, every single day.
All right, let's crank this up to the final level. What happens when you put all of this together? You tap into something almost like an invisible force, a level of commitment that lets you do things that just look straight up impossible to everybody else.
Let me tell you a quick story about a guy named Shun Fujimoto. He was an Olympic gymnast. 15 years of his life, all leading up to this one moment. His country's shot at a gold medal was on his shoulders. The day before the final event, he shattered his kneecap. Just completely shattered. And he knew if a doctor saw it, he was done. He'd be pulled and his team would lose. So he didn't tell us all. He went out there, performed a perfect routine on the rings, and then he had to do the dismount. He landed on that shattered knee. The pain was so insane, he almost blacked out. But he stuck the landing. He did it. He won the gold for his team. And later, when they asked him why he would do that, he said this. He was living by a personal code of honor that was just way more powerful than any physical pain.
And that brings us to the final, and maybe the most intense piece of this mindset. When you find yourself in a truly awful situation, what someone like David Goggins would just call hell, the absolute worst thing you can do is just sit there hoping it'll be over soon. Instead, you have to accept it. You stop being a victim of the situation, and you take charge. You find the one thing, the only thing you can control, and you execute on it like your life depends on it. And this one phrase just captures the whole idea. It's a complete declaration of ownership. You're not just a victim suffering in hell. You are now the one running the place. That mental flip, from just hoping to actively executing, that's what turns victims into victors.
So yeah, we've gone over some pretty powerful, maybe even kind of scary ideas here. But listen, these aren't just abstract ideas. I want you to think of them as a brand new operating system for your brain, and it's ready for you to install. So let's do a quick recap of this new OS, right? First, you say roger that to that weak voice and do it anyway. Second, you hunt for that awkward, frustrating practice. Third, you lead every action with a super intense, specific intention. Fourth, you train your mind like a weapon. Fifth, you live by a personal code of honor that's stronger than pain. And finally, when you find yourself in your own personal hell, you become the CEO of it.
You know that little voice in your head, your self-talk? That's the code that runs your life. It's your software. But here's the cool part. Unlike most software, you can update this stuff for free, starting right this second. So my question to you is, after everything we've just talked about, what's the one update you're going to make today?